Hi, I'm Doug from Worship Musician Magazine, and in this video we're talking about streaming Lincoln Brewster and the lessons learned. About a month ago, I was up at Lincoln's studio in Northern California, and we were streaming live to the Integrity Music YouTube channel. Now, Integrity has 400,000 YouTube subscribers, not nearly all of whom were tuned in. And as today, I think there are about 3,000 views of the replay of that video, which is still really good. 3,000 people. That's awesome. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the things I did in preparation, some of the things that happened during the shoot, I should say during the stream, and then also kind of in retrospect, looking back at some of the things that I thought, I should have seen that coming, and then some of those things that you just can never see coming. First and foremost, I am a preparation fanatic. One of the first things I did was I got on the phone with Lincoln. I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about the flow, such that when we were on camera together, we had rapport. Rapport is everything, because you can have the best setup in the world, but if you don't have interaction, it's not really going to go quite like you want it to. Once we had that mapped, I started putting together a gear list. Now, I am famous for doing this. I put this on my kitchen table. My wife doesn't always appreciate it, but I'm able to keep seeing this thing, and I keep adding things to the list. I'll put this out a day or two before whatever event I'm going to be going to make sure I don't forget something that I need. And invariably at the last minute, I'm like, oh, right. And I'll not only put the name of the piece of gear, but I'll put a little checkbox so that I'm sure to have it with me when I go. Now, a bunch of different pieces of gear here that I pulled together for that rig. Now, the night before, I actually went up to Link's place. I kind of tested everything. And I did it to my own YouTube channel with kind of an unlisted stream so I could kind of see how things worked. It was great. Then kind of at the last minute, instinct kind of kicked in. I said, let me try and see if I can do the same thing on the Integrity YouTube channel. And of course, they had two-step authentication. I had the username and password, but I went to log in and I needed two-step authentication, which, by the way, is something you should do on all your social platforms. Fortunately, I was able to get that ironed out. I didn't see it coming, and I should have. Then once I got up to Lincoln's place, there were a couple of other things that happened. As I was pulling this gear together, one of the other considerations that I had in advance was the fact that I know that I do not want to stream using Wi-Fi if at all possible. So please keep that in mind. So in one of my calls to Lincoln, I said, hey, is there a Cat 5 connection somewhere such that I can utilize one of these cables so I'm able to make sure I'm getting a nice big connection going into my laptop. As you notice, I have a tendency to have more cables than I need for anything because you never know when a cable is going to fail. I'm also a little bit of a labeling nut, but it also means that when you're on a shoot like that, if I need to find my RJ45 terminated cables, it's super easy to do. All right. Now, one of the other things that came into play is I've got this kind of newfangled dongle here, which is one of the ways that I'm able to make sure that I can get everything into this laptop. I'm not quite sure why the Mac people have made it harder and harder to get all these different things in a world where we have more connections than we've ever needed before. They only give you one way to get in there via this USB-C connector, but this little dongle has been a help. It's got a number of different types of connections that made it so I could get everything into the computer here. Okay. When I got up to Lincoln's place, I very quickly found out where the jack was so I could get the high-speed internet going to my computer. In turn, I had to survey the room and kind of go, where's the best place to set up? Didn't have a huge amount of time to do that in. And that was really kind of one way that if you watch the stream, you'll kind of get a chance, or I should say the replay of the stream, you get a chance to see how we set it up. Now, as it turns out, kind of that is a corner of the room that we were facing with the camera, and at that time of day the sun is kind of going by like that, and at different times during the stream you can see how much sunlight is actually coming into the room. Lincoln and I put something up over the window, but it didn't solve that problem. I'm not a big fan of shooting with natural sunlight. If I can avoid it, I do, because it does stuff like that and it just drives me nuts. All right, now when we got there, I got everything set up and I did a test. Audio was great. The video was great. Lincoln was happy. we were supposed to start at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m., we went to go live, and I got an error message from YouTube saying, YouTube live streaming is unavailable right now. And I'm like, seriously? So I tried again about 15 seconds later, and I was able to get on. And of course, one of the things that I did was I kept a phone with me, and my wife and the publisher of Worship Musician Magazine were kind of texting me, and I looked down, I was like, there's no audio. And I'm like, we just tested the audio. So I'm looking over at the laptop, and I can see, in fact, there is no audio. So I kind of came over to the camera and went, which of course will be right back in 1 minute. So I had to abandon the stream. I went back into the YouTube preferences, and for whatever reason, it just decided to forget the microphone that had been working perfectly before. And this is just the sort of stuff that happens. Couldn't have anticipated that we weren't going to be able to stream, and for whatever reason, it just didn't want to see that mic initially. All right, about the gear here. This is the camera that we were using, and if you came to this video from the magazine, this stuff's at the bottom of the page there. If you're looking at this on YouTube, there's a link that'll take you over to the kind of related article in Worship Musician Magazine where I kind of mentioned these specific pieces of gear. But this is the 4K camera that I used. I was running into this VR1 HD from Roland. I was only using one of the HDMI inputs on here, but there's 3 that you can toggle between. I'm going to be using this box a lot more. It's very powerful. This was the microphone. It's the USB mic that we were using. And then these various cables that we used to make the whole thing happen. Now, the good news is I've known Lincoln for quite some time, and we had, in my opinion, a really nice rapport because we love guitars. We're guitar geeks. He has his new guitar, and we, of course, both love ministry. So once we're up and running, the shoot went really well. And in turn, once it concluded, I was able to kind of make a little video, placeholder image, and I edited the actual video such that the beginning and the end, I trimmed that down, and then we took that and pushed that up to YouTube so people could watch the replay. As I was driving back, it really struck me how incredibly stressed out I was during the shoot and kind of in that preparation just beforehand. And I didn't really realize, it wasn't until I was on my way home, I was like, wow, that was so stressful. I had a lot of fun, but there's always something you're having to keep your eyes open for. In any case, I wanted to share kind of my debrief, if you will, on this whole thing. It went really well. Honestly, I couldn't have been much happier. There were a couple little snafus, but honestly, that always prepares you for what's coming next. Preparation, making a list, having more cables than you'll ever need, and having a conversation with whoever it is you're going to be doing video with is a huge help. I hope this has been a help to you. Thanks so much for watching, and God bless.